I'm Bea.
And I'm Sam.
And we're two best friends who like to talk shit about smut, wingspan,
And sometimes books.
Join us every Wednesday for a new episode. Hello.
Hiya.
You okay?
Yeah, you alright?
Yeah, fine. You're a few cocktails deep, aren't you?
I had 2 amaretto sours.
Oh, is that what you had?
Prosecco.
Only 1 glass of Prosecco?
Yeah.
Oh. It's a bit sad, really.
Yeah. I've been wedding dress shopping.
You have, which is very exciting.
It is very exciting. And now I've got my bridesmaid colours, so you can all go do your research on what you want to wear.
I know, I need to have a look. I need to sort my life out.
Although
really,
I love the one I sent to you.
It is stunning.
Yeah.
I do really enjoy it. That is the type of thing that I would pick. I'm going to have a good look, though. Yeah, so, what are you reading?
I'm currently reading A Reign of Rose by Kate Golden.
A long-awaited Reign of Rose. I've just finished it. I finished it today.
I'm so excited.
Yeah.
I'm loving it so far, I have to say.
Yeah, it's fun. I really enjoyed it. I will say I think Peridot for me out of the trilogy is the number one, but I really enjoyed it. Definitely didn't disappoint. I'm so excited to get her on the podcast.
I can't believe she's coming on the podcast.
I'm a fangirl. I think she thinks we're really weird.
Right, because we love her so much.
We just message all the time and tell how much we love her.
We're like, hi Kate, we love you.
Hi Kate, we love you. We're so obsessed with you.
What are you going on to next now that you've read Reign of Rose? What's your plan?
I did a depressing post earlier thinking I might do a Throne of Glass reread.
Oh, okay.
But we want to do that, don't we? Yeah. So I'm like, do I save that because I'm going to need to do it in the new year?
I think you would enjoy Trial of the Sun Queen.
Well, also I was thinking I've only really got time for one read between now and our next author spotlight.
Yes.
So I was thinking of doing Goldfinch.
Ooh.
Because it wraps it up then, isn't it? The series is done.
Although Trials of the Sun Queen, there's 3 of them out so far, and I read all 3 in 4 days.
We'll see.
But you were on holiday, so I had nobody to talk to, so that's why I did it.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm just going to see how I feel. I think I'm either feeling... I just don't think I want to start anything new yet, you know?
Yeah.
And are we going to read... Because are we doing after Kate Golden? Are we doing Serpent at the Wings of Night?
Yeah.
We are, aren't we?
I think so.
I think we are.
Yes.
So I'm gonna need to reread that, I think, because I don't remember much of it.
Yeah, I might have to do some recaps and then see where I am. You know, those websites that we use to get a recap of the book.
Yeah, see how I feel. I don't know. So I am thinking, do I just get Goldfinch over and done with, you know?
Yeah. All my books are unpacked. They're not on the bookshelf. They're all piled up on the floor. So Simba's not allowed in my office now. But I'm going to try and record pack my bookshelf with me.
Oh, in an order.
And try and get them all out nice. And Cute. Then I can post it on the podcast for everyone to see
Stunning.
my new house.
Lovely. And well, not anytime soon, but at some point we're going to have a studio.
Eek! Can't wait.
We just need furniture.
And to decorate, and I need Steve to de-spider the garage.
What are we doing today?
Today we are talking to Camilla Andrew, who is the author of The Essence of the Equinox series. When the Stars Alight, we've talked about so many times. We've shown it on lives, we've shown it on videos saying it's the most beautiful book we own. The artwork is just amazing. So we talked to her about the series, we talked to her about her writing style and where her inspiration comes from. We get into the artwork and where that has all come from and how beautiful her packaging is. And she was so lovely. She was so nice.
If there was a book version of Dragon's Den, she would win it. As entrepreneur, indie entrepreneur. Yeah. Because like you said, the stuff that she produces is wild.
Yeah.
The level of detail is insane. So super excited about today's episode, and we hope you enjoy. And we will be back next week with one book, which will be A Reign of Rose.
Yep, to finish up the Sacred Stone series.
Wrap it up. Then we have Kate Golden herself, like we said. So we've got another author interview coming for you. And then TBC.
Yeah. then we'll let you know.
We'll let you know.
But for now, enjoy our interview with Camilla Andrew.
Yeah, my name's Camilla Andrew. I'm a Black British indie author. I write dark romantic fantasy books. So my main project is The Essence of the Equinox. So it's an in-progress trilogy at the moment. There are 2 entries out, some like additional short stories and novellas as well that you can dive into if you'd like. And yeah, that's pretty much the gist of it.
So what made you want to start writing in the fantasy romance genre?
So when I first started the project, I didn't really know like what genre it started into. So I knew I was writing a fantasy because it's a secondary world. I think it's because I noticed that there were like so many prominent romantic elements that I realized that that's sort of the project I was writing, and that's where When the Stars Alight would sort of slot into. So yeah, I'd say I have like read some entries of like the genre. I would say more paranormal romance than actual fantasy romance, so more like urban fantasy and that sort of area. But I've always really like enjoyed the concept of like, you know, grand sweeping stakes and, you know, supernatural romance. And so yeah.
I know you kind of touched on, your writing and how you really let the sort of genres speak to after the fact with the story, because I think for us this was our first ever toe dip, really, wasn't it, into like a more of a dark fantasy. Like we're typically generally fancy romance readers, and some of them I guess do have a bit of dark elements, but yeah, this was our first ever toe dip. But I think for us that was something that we really enjoyed about it. It was such a like fresh take on the genre, because we've not really read, we tend to read within our little bubble. Tell us a bit about your writing space. So when you're writing, is that like a coffee shop or is it mainly office? Like what, where are you when you're usually writing?
Yeah, so I usually just have like my little nook in my bedroom. So I've got my desk. I've got 2 sort of writing areas. I've got a desktop, but that's more for gaming. But I use it to write as well. It's a bit more powerful as well because I sometimes use programs like Scrivener, and so it's just like a little bit. It's got a bit more of a boost to it than the laptop that I have that I also use to write. But that's a bit more bare bones. So yeah, I just alternate between those 2 spaces.
Amazing. One of the things I said to B when we read When the Stars Alight was that it the way you write is almost like whimsical. It's almost as if you've written a fairy tale for adults. Is that sort of what you were going for when you, because like for me it was so beautifully written. It was like poet, it was like reading poetry. Like it's such a beautifully written book. Is that what you were trying to go for with like the whimsical element?
Yeah, I would definitely say so. One of the biggest inspirations I had for When the Stars Alight was a book called Deathless by Catherine Valente. I'm not sure if you've heard of it, but if you haven't, then I definitely give it a read. It's sort of like in the same arena, I'd say. Like it's an actual fairy tale retelling. It follows Koshchei the Deathless, which is a Russian fairy tale, but it's got a lot of the same elements. Very, very dark, very sort of gory visuals, very grand sweeping stakes, and sort of like the dark romance element as well, with like the morally ambiguous villainous love interest. So yeah,
we always ask a lot. We ask kind of pretty much every author this question, but one of the things I said to you all the time, because obviously I pre-ordered We Will Devour the Night when it got released a few weeks ago. And I said this to Sam, like, not, but as yourself as an indie author, we've both said that like the quality of what you put out there and obviously the books themselves, but in terms of like the covers, the packaging, like the fan art, like it feels like every single detail. And I don't know if you saw it in the video we put up, but even like the packaging that the books came in, it's literally like you do not leave a stone unturned. Like it's incredible. And obviously being like an indie author yourself, like those things aren't particularly easy to acquire because you don't have like a huge publishing house behind you that's like, putting all the like, pieces together. So I guess like for any other authors maybe out there listening, or any aspiring indie authors, like what's the advice that you would give for them, and particularly like how do you do it? Like how do you like get things that are not even just get things, but produce things that are like oh my gosh, the quality is just insane. Like, and yeah, we just need to know.
Yeah, I think the key thing now is just like to do your research. So one of the things that I always do whenever I try and look for vendors or people to produce things with is I always try to go for anything locally sourced, because a lot of publishing resources are very US based, and obviously we're all in the UK, and so I always think, you know, how if I'm going to produce this, how am I going to get this to me, obviously, and like how am I going to make sure that I've got the ability to be in consistent contact with the manufacturer if anything goes wrong. I do rely a lot on anything that's UK based. I recognize that's like a privilege of being in the UK, and not everyone's going to have access to that sort of thing if they're in like a country that's not like got those particular resources. So I definitely think do your research, see what's available out there, rely on discernment, I think. So any company I work with, I always do my due diligence of making sure like they're above board, they create quality products, they've got good reviews. And so that's like that's so the sprayed edges that you have for I've got one for paperback and one for hardcover. I went for 2 different companies because at the time before I produced the hardcover paperback with the hardcover with the sprayed edges, that was not an available option with the manufacturer I was using, which I use Bookvault for paperbacks and hardcovers primarily. So I went with another company called Diamond Print. So they do special editions as like just like as a trade thing. So they'll do gilding and sprayed edges and jacket foiling, things like that. So I checked them out. I liked what I saw, and I decided to go with them. A lot of things I do, I recognize are going to have a large upfront cost that people might not be able to have themselves. I recognize that's a privilege that I have, basically because I have the ability to, I would say, spend that because of the position that I'm in. But I would say if you do want it, you can have it. It's just going to be a bit more of a wait, I think. So you know, if you've got the ability to save or see if you can do a trade with someone any regarding art, like if you've got any artistic ability yourself, that really gives you a leg up. I don't, so I'm always looking for people that I can work with and support. Sometimes for fan art, it's perhaps artists that I know my friends have vetted for me. So they say, oh, I like this person's style. I think they would be really good for your characters. And they might be small or starting out, so the prices are not quite that high. For my cover artist, she was very, very pricey. But I knew ahead of time when I first came across her art onto her that I just had to have her. And it didn't matter like I was ready to pay anything just to work with her, and I was really privileged to be able to do that. But yeah, so research, discernment, and just recognizing your financial position and being willing to save and strive for anything that you want.
Because we've both said, like, we feel like we bang this drum all the time, but honestly the hardback editions that we have of When the Stars Alight, we say it every single time, it is the most single beautiful book I've ever owned in my life. Like, I have never, we hold it all the time. We're always like, and people are like, where's it from, and we're like, because it, like, I know, like you said, it comes at a price, unfortunately, like things do, but oh my gosh, that cover is just, yeah,
it's incredible. And even like if you want to take your dust jacket off, the hardcovers are still beautiful. You know, sometimes you take your dust jacket off and it's just a plain book underneath, which is fine. But When the Stars Alight, when you take that dust jacket off and you've still got all that art, oh my God, it is beautiful.
We love it.
Yeah, I'm very happy with it, especially the sprayed edges version that I eventually was able to create with Bookvault, what's great about Bookvault is that it's print on demand, so that I don't have to worry so much about printing a bunch of copies that might not sell and then having that upfront cost just like sort of weighing me down. Any time I produce with Bookvault, I can make as many or as big or as little as I want, and that's a really great privilege.
Amazing.
Awesome.
On the topic of the hardback of When the Stars Alight, Are you planning on doing a special edition of We Will Devour the Night? Because I know personally, I would love to have a matching set
Yeah.
on my shelves.
Yes, definitely. It is definitely on the agenda. I'm just having a few scheduling conflicts with the artist that I used for the first book. She's very, very popular in the demand. She's gotten more popular and in demand since I first started working with her. So it's just sort of like me emailing her and checking in, say, hey, you got any space for me yet? And unfortunately, she's not available until early January. So I'm thinking, if that works out, then maybe for 2025 I can start marketing that as a potential option to people to buy as well.
Amazing. Well, I can't wait for
it. We need it. Our next question, and I know that it's probably a question maybe a lot of people are asking you right now, because you've literally just released book 2 and people are already like, yeah, but do you have any plans, or kind of do you have an idea in your head of how many books you'd like the Essence of Equinox series to be? Is there potential for a book 3? What's happening there, I guess?
Yeah, so as far as I know at the moment, it's planned to be a trilogy. I am in the process of writing the 3rd book. I just need to finish the last stack of chapters. Like I'm at I know word counts don't really mean much to like the average reader, but I'm at 104k at the moment. I'm thinking that it is quite close to being finished. Probably going to be around about the same size as We Will Devour the Night. Yeah, I'm hoping for a winter 2025 release.
That's so exciting.
At the latest, spring 2026. I'll have to see how everything progresses. But yeah.
Amazing. Obviously, without giving too much away or any spoilers, can you describe book 3 in 3 words?
Yeah, so I actually think I'm actually going to steal a couple of phrases that I've seen in like a couple of book 2 reviews. So a couple of readers have said they're expecting a heart-wrenching finale, and I definitely think that's the best way to describe book 3.
I don't know how to feel about that.
I kept saying to Sam, like when we were reading We Will Devour the Night, like I think it's the genre as a whole, which we love. Like I love always feeling on edge, and I love that like morally grey aspect of a lot of characters, that like it's not always necessarily going to be like a happily ever after. But I kept saying to you the whole way through book 2, I was like, I can't feel at peace. And even after I finished the book and closed it, I was like, I can't feel at peace, because I just feel like there's something, like there's just something coming.
What's coming?
Yeah. I will say there is a lot of angst and heartache to anticipate in the 3rd book. I won't give away too much of the ending. It's not going to be a tragic ending. I promise you that. It's not going to be like, you're not going to be like, oh, everyone dies. No, it's not but yeah, you can expect a lot of angst and a lot of twists and turns and a lot of drama.
Exciting. So do you have any plans to maybe write outside of this world? Do you have any other series that you're sort of plotting in your head? Will you stay in the dark romance fantasy genre, or are there different genres that you would like to write in?
Yeah, so at the moment I think I'm going to stay solidly in the fantasy arena. I've got a few projects in my head that I haven't like fully fleshed out yet. I do want to stay in the TOT verse with a future project that I've got sort of like brewing in the back of my head. So that's more of a solidly fantasy series, less romantic aspects. But I do have another project that is more solidly romance instead of fantasy that I've got in mind as well. And that's probably not going to take place in the same universe. It's probably going to be more of like a sort of like at the moment it's seeming like it's going to be like a medievalish setting, but probably not as like heavy on the world building as TOT was. At the moment it's like a sort of like a demon wizard sort of pairing that I've got in mind. You might see like a little snippet of it coming soon, because I'm sort of, well, I won't say it's like a full collab, but I have an artist friend. He's like he makes really good art, and I saw like a character design he said he created, and I thought, oh my god, that's just like got the gears in my head turning. So I started like just like typing away, and then showed him some of the snippets, and he was like, "Oh, this is really good. I'm gonna post this with the character art when I eventually get around to posting it." So when that pops up on Instagram, you'll be able to see that.
Oh, how
That's so exciting. Yeah, I love it. I think taking like a medieval twist on things.
Yes.
I think it's like, I think that pairs really well with the dark, like fantasy genre as well. That's so exciting.
Yeah.
So our next question is, where did the inspiration for this series come from? Like, was there one specific thing you thought like was the spark that started this all?
So this is actually like a passion project that's been on the burner for like several years. I would say like it first started off in my teen years. So this is sort of like been a project that's been with me for a very long time, but it's gone through so many different sort of iterations before it eventually became When the Stars Alight and the in the other entries in the series. I mentioned Deathless. That was definitely one of the key inspirations of like, okay, this is the sort of story that I want to write. This is the atmosphere I want, and the mood that I want to strike. I would say just like various inspirations from a lot of things. Another key inspiration I would say is the His Dark Materials trilogy. That's a very like old series, very quite young one as well, but it impacted me very, very, very young, and sort of stayed with me. It's a lot of reason why the world is sort of like gas lampish. You know, it's got sort of like more modernish technology than you typically get in your fantasy setting. But yeah, I definitely attribute a lot of the inspiration to that series as well.
Yeah, not to repeat what B has already said, but I think you can tell it's a passion project because of how much care you put in, even to like the packaging, the arts that you send out, like the covers of the books. I think it definitely comes across that it's a passion project because like we can see how much time and detail you've put into it all.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, definitely. So we're getting more into the nitty gritty of the actual books themselves now, and we always forewarn people like we are not spoiler free, so we can spoil all we want, certainly for book 1 and for book 2. So the first question I have about actual characters in the book is, was Darius always the plan to be the love interest? Because you were a little ahead of me when we were reading When the Stars Alight, and I was honestly speechless that we got like a 180 on the love interest. I should have learnt my lesson. Like, I know it's never the first one, but we were so far into When the Stars Alight, and I was like, no, like, okay, we're running with it. And then it was like, actually, is this really happening? Was that always your intention to have that like switch?
So as far as the series in its final iteration, yes, it was always meant to be. Darius was always meant to be the primary love interest. In really, really early versions that were like never finished, like Dominus was meant to be like a more prominent character. But as I started planning out the series more, I think that I started to realize that I'd get more mileage out of Darius as a character, like mining it as like just mining him, because of, well, you see how his character progresses throughout like book 1 and book 2, and I just feel like that sort of conflict was a lot more meaty for me to like to think into as in terms of being a writer. So as far as like the series, when I sat down to write the series, what would become When the Stars Alight and onwards, he was always going to be, he was always going to be the end game. But when it comes to Dominus, his character, while his character was not intended to be the end game love interest, he was always his prominence did sort of like shift as I was writing the story and deciding what his place in the narrative would be.
When I started When the Stars Alight and she finds Dominus, I was like, I've got it sussed. He's the love interest. She'll run off with him. I've got this book sussed. So when it switched to Darius, I was like, oh my gosh, like literally flew through the end of that book. I've never read the ending of a book so quickly in my life.
Yeah. I know when the character Darius started getting introduced, I was like, I think he's kind of hot, but am I supposed to think he's hot? Because like this isn't really what the like narrative is just yet. Obviously it changes, but yeah, I text you. I was like, I can't believe I didn't see that come in. Like, yeah, I just loved it.
What was the most unexpected challenge you encountered when you were writing these books?
I suppose I would say it's the aspect of plotting. So I'm not a complete pantser, but I'm also not a total plotter at the same time as well. I'm sort of like I call myself an intuitive writer because I sort of like I have a base outline that I try to follow as best as I can, but I'm open to letting the story like naturally just evolve and change and take the direction that it wants to go. So that worked really well for the first two books, which I ended up drafting quite quickly. Well, I suppose I'm slower than other authors in that regard, but the third book is definitely proving to be the most challenging. I think it's because I'm so nervous about like making sure that it's a satisfying and impactful ending. So I'm just sort of like now that I'm getting closer to the end, it's sort of like the pressure is sort of coming in. I'm like, oh, am I going to disappoint people? If am I going to be able to pull this off in a way that reflects well on the entries that came before? So I think that's definitely the biggest challenge I'm dealing with right now.
Yeah, because I guess it's like wrapping up, isn't it? Especially like when you know it's going to be a trilogy, which we always say is a really lovely number. Like it's just enough, but it's not too many. But like all of a sudden, like you said, you get into the end and you're like, yeah, but this I can't keep like this has to wrap. Like I can't keep like going along with this. So yeah, I'm not gonna lie, we don't envy you, but we're excited to read it when it comes out. We don't envy you right now. So the last question we have for today is, what one book outside of your own writing that you will always recommend to people?
Okay, so keeping in, I went through so many like different entries in my head, but I thought I wanted to keep in mind that the audience that you've curated. So I wanted to make sure that it was in the realm of like what they might be interested in. Mm-hmm. So I got the book right here. You mentioned you've actually spotlighted this already, but the Vermilion Cat by DC Devour. Yeah. So I'm always gonna give DC a shout out. She's a friend, which is not the reason why I'm recommending her, because I actually became her friend after I read her book, and I was like, oh my god, this is so good. Everyone needs to read this. I just think it's like more because you mentioned that you don't really read dark fantasy that much. I think it's more in the vein of like what people would expect. It's very very lighthearted, very wacky, very zany, lovable cast of characters. The romance is like very very strong. I'm a sucker for like opposites attract, and you can see just like in their character design that they fit the bill really well. So yeah, definitely give this one a read if you like fantasy romance.
Yeah, amazing. We just I read it for our first author spotlight that we're doing now, which are like our spoiler-free episodes that we're releasing twice a month. And I read it for the first episode. And yeah, it was, oh my gosh, it was such a fun read. Like I think I did it in like 2 sit-ins. We would highly recommend that. I know you want to read it.
Yeah, absolutely. My TBR is ever growing.
Yeah.
Are you reading anything right now? What's your current read?
So my current read is a bit more of an obscure one because it's an older book, but I'm currently reading Belle at Sealy Head by Patricia McKillip. I really love her works. I think that if you like the sort of like whimsical prose of Women's Stars Light, I would definitely give McKillip's work to read, because she always blows me away with her prose. For a more recent thing that I just finished, that's the artist friend I mentioned earlier. He writes very classical epic fantasy. So I read the first entry in the Lost Nation saga. It's called The Era of Antiquity. So if you're more of a hardcore fantasy reader, so if you go into it, really wanting that, the world building, the stakes, the fight scenes, etc., definitely give that one a read as well.
That was our little interview with Camilla Andrew, which was so much fun. I love like when I have books that I love the plot twists in, because again, like if you listen to this, you're fine with spoilers or you've read the books. But I was gagged that we had a love interest flip-flop in this, because I really didn't see that coming at all in book 1. I love getting to know when people are like, yeah, I was always going to be like that, you know. I love knowing.
I was always going to trick you.
Yeah. Because I wonder, was she like writing like la la la, like Dominus and Layla, and then was like, oh, actually, no, the sexy brother.
Fuck you, Dominus.
Yeah, so that was a delight. Thank you so much to Camilla for coming on. We always love doing author interviews.
Yeah.
She's so sweet. And our first ever British author.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes. So also, and another amazing indie author, like, go support her. We say this all the time, we bang the show all the time, but the special edition 1-year hardback of When the Stars Alight is hands down the most beautiful book we have ever owned. I've never owned a more beautiful hardback. Some of our listeners, we know you guys have bought it before or have bought it. Obviously I can't comment on like what it's like for international shipping, but if you're based in the UK, it's really reasonable. Same price as a hardback in Waterstones. So go check her out. You know, we'll tag her and everything, and she's just an amazing author.
I love that it was a passion project for her. Like, I don't know what it is about a passion project that just like hits me in the chest.
I know.
It just makes me love the book even more. Hope you enjoyed this episode.
Come back next week for a Reign of Rose.
We're so chaotic.
And we're going to be wrapping up. That's the last in the Sacred Stones trilogy, so we're done. Then we have Kate Golden herself coming on, and she's literally just announced a new series, which is like a dark academia, Buffy the Vampire. Like, you saw this.
Oh my god, yeah, sorry.
We've definitely talked about this.
I was like, oh my god. And then I was like, I know.
When you get to the last page of Reign of Rose, there's like a huge graphic about it.
Cool.
So you get like more information.
Woo!
So excited to have her on. And then, like we said, week after,
TBC.
we'll see. But we are going to be doing Serpent to the Wings of Night soon.
Yeah.
At some point.
Why did I just do that?
Yeah. Okay, lovely.
Bye. Bye. Thanks so much for listening.
Follow us on TikTok and Instagram at A Pod of Smut and Wingspan.
See you next week.
Bye.